YouTube. You already know. It's your boy, the Latin assassin himself, Big Lou, tapping back in with what it do with Big Lou, NFCR2. Baby. Bye. So check it out, man. We lost a good one. Today, we lost none other than two-time heavyweight champion of the world, uh, Big George Foreman, which he held. He's considered. They call him a two-time heavyweight champion of the world, but he actually held multiple belts. His first go around back in the 70s, he held the WBA and the WBC and the ring. He was the ring champion. I don't know if they called it the ring champion or if it was a lineal champion back then. And then in '94, I believe it was '94, when he knocked out Michael Moore in the 10th round, he was a WBA and IBF champion. But immediately they started politicking on him in his next fight. He dropped one belt, they stripped him of it, and then they stripped him of the second belt. And I'll get into that a little bit. So he was about what was he, about 75, 76? Well, I'll tell you here. He's born in Marshall, Texas, January 10th, 1949. And he passed away in Houston, Texas, March 21st, 2025, age 76. Like I said, he's known as Big George. He's fought in the heavyweight division, which is, here it says 215 to 250, but I believe the heavyweight division is, 205. He was 6'3", 78-inch reach. He was an orthodox stance. So 6'3" was considered big, tall back then. Because, coming off, a lot of the fighters were like 5'10", 5'11", 6 foot. You know what I'm saying? Some of them, like Rocky Marciano, wasn't even 200 pounds. He was like 190, 195, something like that. Big George had a boxing record of 81 total fights, 76 wins, 68 wins came by knockout, 5 losses. And he also won the gold medal in 1968 Olympics in Mexico City. That was a hell of Olympics. That was when I can't think of the guy's names right now, but they were on the track and field team when they held their fists up with the black gloves. Carlos something. I'll figure it out later. So that was a hell of a statement, that Olympics, and George Foreman was part of it. So after a troubled childhood, Foreman took up amateur boxing and won a gold glove in the heavyweight division at the '68 Olympics, like I just mentioned. Having turned pro the next year, he won the world boxing heavyweight title with a stunning second round knockout of then undefeated Joe Frazier in 1973. He defended the belt twice before suffering. Actually, they say he defended the belt twice, but he actually had 2 belts. A lot of people are under the impression that the green belt, the WBC, is the oldest belt in boxing. It's not. It's the WBA. It's the black belt with the gold. Is the oldest belt. But at that time, he took 2 belts from Joe Frazier. Let's see. So he defended the belts twice before fighting Muhammad Ali in the Rumble in the Jungle in '74, Zaire, Africa, right? And that was his first. Everybody thought Muhammad Ali was crazy, that he wasn't going to be able to withstand the punching power of George Foreman, and most people would be right, but Muhammad Ali had a plan, and he executed that plan to perfection, and he ended up knocking out Big George in, like, I think it was like the 5th round, 6th round. So he ended up losing titles to Muhammad Ali, and then unable to secure another title opportunity. Foreman retired after a loss to Jimmy Young in 1977. And then he became a born-again Christian, right? And then 10 years later, he gets back into the ring, right? announced his comeback. And in '94, at age 45, he won the unified WBA, IBF, and lineal heavyweight championship titles by knocking out 26-year-old Michael Moore. He dropped, okay, here we go. This is what I was talking about with the belts. He dropped the WBA belt rather than face his mandatory title defense soon after, following a single success title defense against Axel Schultz. Foreman relinquished the IBF title as well on June 25th, 95. So, of course, again, here's the boxing at its best with the politics on the sanctioning bodies. The guy barely won the belt, and they're already on him that he has to fight this guy. He has to fight that guy, you know. And George was just happy to be a champion again. So at 46 years old and 169 days, he was the oldest world heavyweight champion in history. Foreman was the oldest to ever win the world boxing heavyweight championships of majors honors, and the second oldest in any weight class after Bernard Hopkins, who did it many years after him. He was like 48 or 49. He retired in '97 at the age of 48 with the final record of 76 wins, 68 by knockout, which I already said, 5 losses, and one of the most famous losses coming at the hands of Muhammad Ali, who hit him with a lightning fast 1-2 combination, which was the fastest punch Foreman had ever seen. The Foreman used to tell the story about how that pretty much like tore him up, like the fact that he lost and all that. That's what I'm saying with some of these guys. Like I mentioned the other day, I was talking about Devin Haney. You know, you have to take it with a grain of salt to see how they're going to perform the next time they fight after a big loss. You know, and George Foreman was a perfect example, but at least George Foreman could admit it. But this is way years later. Okay, so Foreman he's been inducted into the World Boxing Hall of Fame and the International Boxing Hall of Fame. The International Boxing Research Organization rates Foreman as the 8th greatest heavyweight of all time. In 2002, he was named one of the 25th greatest fighters of the past 80 years by Ring Magazine. The Ring ranked him as the 9th greatest puncher of all time. He's got 76 wins, 68 by knockout. So that must be what? A high 70%, 80% maybe knockout rate. He was and then people that are all in the boxing, he worked for HBO Boxing, and he worked for them for over 10 years. And then outside of boxing, he was an entrepreneur. He hit big with the George Foreman grill. And from my understanding, it was down to 2 picks. It was between Hulk Hogan and George Foreman. One was going to pick this blender type deal, which that's what Hulk Hogan picked. And George Foreman obviously got the grill, and he hit big with the grill, and Hulk Hogan didn't hit big with the with the juicer. So he was born in Marshall, Texas. He grew up in the 5th Ward community of Houston with 6 siblings. Although he was raised by J.D. Foreman, whom his mother had married when George was a small child, his biological father was Leroy Moorhead. By his own admission in his autobiography, George was a troubled youth. He dropped out of school at the age of 15 and spent time as a mugger. At 16, Foreman had a change of heart and convinced his mother to sign him up for Job Corps. After seeing an ad for Job Corps on TV, as part of Job Corps, Foreman earned his GED and trained to become a carpenter and bricklayer. After moving to Pleasanton, California, which is only 15-20 minutes down the street, with the help of a supervisor, he began to train. Foreman was interested in football and idolized Foreman was interested in football and idolized Jim Brown, but gave it up for boxing. And so I mentioned this not the other day, but earlier when I dropped that community post about him passing, and I said that something about him being in this area. So see, it says right here, Pleasanton, California. It was actually Dublin where my pops used to see him and Archie Moore. And the way it is that one side of the freeway is Dublin, One side is Pleasanton, and people get it confused all the time. Um, so, anyways, he became a born again Christian and a pastor or evangelist. Um, and I want to give a couple. I want to let people know some of the people that he fought, in case some people don't know, who he had beat in the past. Um, so he won the Pan American Heavyweight title on May 11th, 1972, with the second round knockout over Miguel Angel Paez. I don't know who that is, but that was his first belt that he won, I believe. No, I take that back. He won the vacant NABF heavyweight title on May 10th, 1971, in the TKO of Gregorio Peralta. Uh, almost to the day a year later is when he won that belt, that Pan American heavyweight title, by beating Miguel Angel Paez. 2 fights later, TKO in the second round on January 22nd, 1973. He was 24 years old in 12 days when he beat Down Goes Frazier. Down Goes Frazier. He won the WBA, WBC, and the Ring heavyweight titles, right? Okay. Then he defended it against Jose Roman September 1st, 1973, in Japan. He retained the WBA, WBC, and Ring heavyweight titles. Next fight, big fight here. Ken Norton. He KO'd him in the second round of a 15-round fight on March 26, 1974. He was 25 years old and 75 days. And he fought him in Poliedro, Caracas, Venezuela. And he retained both the WBC, WBA, and the Ring heavyweight titles. Next fight, Rumble in the Jungle, Zaire, Africa. Ali Boumbaye. Ali Boumbaye. Oh, okay, I was incorrect. I said the fifth or sixth round. It was the eighth round KO on October 30th, 1974. He lost the WBA, WBC, and the Ring titles to Muhammad Ali. His very next fight, it was a hard ass. This was a war. It was none other than Ron Lyle. He KO'd Ron Lyle in the fifth round at Caesar's Palace, Paradise, Nevada, California. Excuse me, Paradise, Nevada, USA. He won the vacant NABF heavyweight title. This fight, peoples, if you haven't seen it, go watch George Foreman versus Ron Lyle. These guys knocked each other down at least, man, 5, 6 times apiece. It was a straight war. Okay, his next fight, he rematched with George Frazier, and he TK'd him again, this time in the fifth round. And that was June 15, 1967. He was 27 years old and 157 days. And this went down, in Nassau Veterans Memorial Coliseum, Hempstead, New York. And then he fought Scott Ledoux, TKO, third round, in Ithaca, New York. Then he fought John Dino Denise, TKO, fourth round. Then he fought Pedro Augusto, TKO, fourth round. Then he fought Jimmy Young. He lost in the unanimous decision. That means all three judges had Jimmy Young. And they fought Roberto Clemente, Coliseo Roberto Clemente in San Juan, Puerto Rico. And that was his last fight. Almost 10 years to the day. He gets back. So that was March 17th, 1977. He gets back in the ring March 9th, 1987, at the age of 38 and 58 days. TKO, fourth round, Steve Zowski in Arco Arena, Sacramento. Then he fights another one. Charles Hostetter KOs him in the third round in County Coliseum, Oakland, California. Then another TKO, Bobby Crabtree, then Tim Anderson, TKO, then Rocky Sikorsky, then Tim Trim, then Guido Trane, and then he fights a ex-champion Dwight Mohammed Kwaye, TKO 7th round, Caesar's Palace, Nevada. He's 39 years old and 69 days at this point. Then he fights Frank Lux, knocks him out. Then Carlos Hernandez knocks him out in Jersey, Atlantic City. Let's see. Okay, I just fast forward about 5 fights. He fights Burt Cooper to a RTD 2nd round. And that fight went on in Arizona. Then January 15th, 1990. He's 41 years old at this point in 5 days, and he knocks out Jerry Cooney. I remember that fight. I mean, he knocked Jerry Cooney, dropped him once, I think, and I remember he got up and bam, he knocked him again. And when he knocked him out, his whole arm was on his head. He was laying down, like, you know what I mean? It was funny looking. Let's see. He fights Evander Holyfield. He fights the undisputed heavyweight champion, and at this time, this is a 3-belt era, right? They didn't really acknowledge the WBO. So Evander had the WBA, WBC, and IBF. And this was in Convention Hall, Atlantic City, New Jersey. George Foreman was 42 years old and 99 days. This happened on April 19, 1991. This was a unanimous decision for Evander. And I remember that fight too, but they were rocking each other. You know what I mean? Evander Holyfield talked about it later. They were rocking each other, and Evander was hitting George with some good ones. Okay, his next fight, he wins TKO 3rd round of Jimmy K. Ellis. He's 42 years old at this point, almost 43. And then he fights Alex Stewart, who was a good fighter. He was one of them dudes that, you beat him, and he was like a stepping stone into the pretty much the top 10, the top 8, top 7 heavyweight fighters. But same with like Burt Cooper, same thing. When you fight him, you're getting ready to go to the top of the division. And that was a majority decision win. They fought in Nevada again. Then he beats Pierre Kotzer, who was a journeyman too. Then he goes up against Tommy Morrison, June 7, 93. He's 44 years old, 148 days. And they fought it in Paradise, Nevada, for a vacant WBO title. And he loses unanimous decision. So that, again, Morrison won on all 3 cards, and he won the WBO title, which, like I just mentioned, it wasn't recognized as a major world title. Now it is. You know what I'm saying? But he still goes down as being a WBO heavyweight champion. Tommy Morrison, that is. Okay, next fight. So both times after, well, let's see. Okay, I was going to say something, but I don't think it's true. Next fight, he gets a title shot at Michael Moore. This is November 5th, 1994. He's 45 years old and 299 days. And he gets a KO in the 10th round. And this was at MGM Grand Garden Arena, Paradise, Nevada. And he won the WBA, IBF, World Heavyweight titles. So he was a unified champion. His very next fight, he fights. This becomes the oldest champion ever right here at that point. Now, since then, Bernard Hopkins has broken. Then he fights Alex Schultz for a majority decision win. He was 46 years old and 102 days. Keep in mind, though, he only retained the IBF title, and he won the WBU title, which they don't recognize it. It wasn't recognized, and it's dissolved and disbanded that sanctioning body. So as you can see, his very next fight, he didn't even have the WBA belt no more. They already got in with the boxing politics and wanted him to fight somebody else, and he decided to fight Alex Schultz. And they stripped him that fast. Okay. Then he fights Crawford Grimsley. He wins the unanimous decision November 3rd, 96. He's 47 years old and 298 days. They fought in Japan. And he retained the WBU heavyweight title. And he won a vacant WBA heavyweight title. No mention about the IBF because they already stripped him too. That fast. And these two belts, you know what I mean? And then Lou Savaris's next fight is split decision on April 26, 1997. He was 48 years old and 106 days. They fought in a convention hall, Atlantic City, and he retained the WBU. So the IBA art stripped him too, I guess. Huh? And his next fight is against, hey champ, what's up, champ? November 22nd, 97. It was a majority decision loss to Shannon Briggs. George Foreman was 48 years old and 316 days. They fought in Tess Arena, Atlantic City, New Jersey. Um, so that takes care of all that. Let's see. When Foreman came back from retirement, he argued that his success was due to his healthy eating. He was approached by Sultan Inc., which was looking for a spokesman for its fat-reducing grill. As of 2009, George Foreman has sold over 100 million units. Although Foreman never confirmed exactly how much he has earned from the endorsement, Sultan paid him 138 million in 1999 for the right to use his name. Prior to that, he was paid about 40% of the profits of each grill sold, earning him 4.5 million a month in payouts at its peak. Wow. Yielding an estimated total of around 200 million just from the endorsement through 2011. Substantially more than he earned as a boxer, of course. So, his family's set, man. You know what I mean? His family's set. Uh, there's no doubt about that. You know what I mean? Let's see. Foreman stated that in his crisis experience, he became a born again Christian following his HBO boxing commentator Larry Merchant commented that there was a transformation from a young, hard character who felt a heavyweight title should carry himself with menace to a very affectionate personality. Foreman was welcomed by members of the Church of the Lord Jesus Christ, a holiness Pentecostal church on Lone Oak Road in Houston, where he eventually became the pastor in 1980. Under his leadership, the Church of the Lord Jesus Christ opened the George Foreman Youth and Community Centers in order to minister to children and adolescents in the area. Foreman declared that I'm always studying the Bible and stated that the more you learn, the more you realize how much you don't know. Ain't that a truth? Foreman led three churches. No, Foreman led 3 church services a week in which he aimed to reveal something about the Bible that his congregation, didn't know. Foreman opined that it doesn't matter what you achieve, what you accomplish in this life. The most important thing is to keep your eye on the true prize, and that's serving God. Amen there, brother. Let's see. Yeah, George Foreman, people don't know too, he at the time, back in the 70s when he was champ the first time, and I know he got some endorsements when he became champ the second time, some 12 years later, whatever it was. Uh, he appeared in Sanford and Son, you know what I mean? So I know he appeared in a few other things at the time, and I remember him doing some commercials in the 90s. I can't remember what they were, but excuse me, I know he did. But Foreman, Muhammad Ali, well, actually, Out of Foreman, Muhammad Ali, and Joe Frazier, he was the last one living. Out of the big champions of the 70s into the 80s, you got Muhammad Ali, Joe Frazier, George Foreman, Ken Norton, and Larry Holmes. And now everybody's gone except for Larry Holmes, who's about 80 years old now, I believe. Let me see. I believe he's about 80, 78, at least 78. Oh, you know what? He might be 74, 76, something like that. Let me see. I'd say between 74 and 80, Larry Holmes is 75. So he's 75. So he was the youngest of the bunch. You know, so he's the only one left of that era. Um, you know, it just shows that you can turn. Things can happen in miraculous, mysterious ways, right? George Foreman, actually, in that fight too against Michael Moore, George Foreman was getting tipped up. You know, if Moore had more power, well, I take that back because George Foreman took some shots from Evander Holyfield. He took some shots from Tommy Morrison. And he didn't go down. He took some shots from Shannon Briggs too, and he didn't go down. So Michael Moore was peppering him up, but maybe he couldn't knock him out because maybe just Foreman had that chin, But he still was cruising to win easily, unanimous decision. And the thing was too, George Foreman didn't even really hit him with power punches. He just hit him with like a little overhand right, and he went down. But I said this before, I'm pretty sure that at my dad's pad, he used to have a boxing glove on the wall. And it says, if you want to know how hard George Foreman hits, it's on the glove, it says, back up about 10 feet and then run into the glove with your head. And they're basically saying that's how hard George Foreman hits. You know what I'm saying? But yeah, Foreman had the power, man. He just boop boop real quick, boop boop, and down went Michael Moore, and he couldn't get back up. So it is what it is, man. That's why they always say a boxer always has a puncher's chance, especially if they're a knockout artist, which George Foreman was. Like I said in there, it said George Foreman was ranked 8th or 9th knockout puncher of all time. You know what I'm saying? Um, you know, so that tells you right there. And then like I have said this before, I believe there was a boxer and he had his hood on. He's got a robe on, but with the hood, and he's hitting the heavy bag, bam, 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 and then George Foreman's son comes up, says, "Damn, Dad, you still got it." He goes, and his dad turns around and says, "Power don't ever go anywhere, son." I'm paraphrasing him. He said it another way, but that's what he meant. And then gets back to hitting the bag, bam, bam. And so, it don't matter how you get slow, but once that connects, the power's there. You know what I'm saying? So, anyways, that's just a little fun note about George Foreman. Like I said, he's one of the greatest. Um, and he's proved it, been through some things, proved it, and bounced back big time. Made more money off of endorsing a product than he did, fighting, which that's normal nowadays. You know what I'm saying? Boxing didn't pay that well back then. I mean, it paid well for the times, but it's not like now. And here he just bubbled up from a product that he just so happened to basically not pick, that it just was given to him because Hulk Hogan picked the juicer. You know what I'm saying? So, and maybe that's why it happened, because the difference between Hulk Hogan and George Foreman, their personalities and just their genuine heart. It may be, you know what I'm saying? So with that being said, Big Lou tapping out. Baby, baby.